and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm talking about some spooky horror books that I plan on reading over the next few months. Lately, I've been craving books centered around cursed films or just films in general, spooky films. So I have been building up a TBR of books that are all centered around that topic. So think The Ring and books like Scanlines by Todd Keisling, which is centered around a cursed video found on the internet. I love that whole vibe. I love it even more if it's set in the 90s. I love the nostalgia feeling to it. So here are a few I have found that I will hopefully be getting to over the next few months. And I'm doing this video to hold myself accountable. So the first book on this list is Experimental Film by Gemma Files. So Experimental Film is a contemporary ghost story about a former film teacher who is jobless, and she's also experiencing a lot of depression and a lot of stress because her son has recently been diagnosed with autism. During all this, she decides to investigate this filmmaker and what happened to this filmmaker because she seemingly disappeared, and in doing so, she invites some negative energy into her home, on herself, and on her son. So I think this one is really a character study. It sounds so interesting. Supposedly has a lot of creeping aura and dread, and it is reading like a memoir, but it's not actually a memoir. It also sounds a little bit like Night Film, which is also about an investigator who is looking into the whereabouts of an infamous filmmaker. Then I have It Came from the Multi Plex. This is 80s Midnight Chillers. So this is an anthology featuring a bunch of horror authors, and it's supposed to be like you're at the Movie Plex and you're attending this film festival, and there's a bunch of different stories that surround Satanists, elder gods, aliens, ghosts, and a bunch of other stuff. So I typically do not like to read anthologies, but I'm trying to push myself out of my comfort zone, and this one sounds really awesome and right up what I'm looking for, and the cover is just so cool, and it has those 80s vibes, VHS look to it that I love. Next is The Witching Hour Theater from Jonathan Janz. This is a short novella that is only a little over 81 pages, and it's centered on a man who attends his local movie theater frequently, and they have this thing called the Witching Hour where they have horror movie marathons. So one night in October when he's there, he's doing his usual thing, but things are different this time. The night takes a turn, and the movies on screen get stranger, and the people who are in the audience begin disappearing one by one. This one sounds really interesting. I love the cover as well, and I've been meaning to check out Jonathan Janz for a while now. So next is Flicker by Theodore Rozak. I don't know if I'm saying that correctly, but this one is a doozy. This is 608 pages. So this one is centered on a young filmmaker who stumbles across a box of lost films from an infamous film director that has kind of disappeared. So at first, when he's studying these films, it kind of boosts his morale and his career, but then over time, as he looks deeper into the films, they reveal a frightening secret that should have been kept hidden. This one is another one that is giving me Night Films vibes. I love the idea of uncovering old films from a famous director who's kind of gone lost or under the radar. This one sounds like it's intense. I guess he describes the films that he's watching in the book in great detail, so it almost feels like it's a real film. Okay, and this is one I want to read, but I don't know how I'll find it because it seems to be out of print and it's not available on Kindle. It's called Demon Theory by Stephen Graham Jones. I really like Stephen Graham Jones. I don't think his writing is for everybody. He kind of writes in a stream of consciousness sort of way, but this one I think is his first book, his first horror novel. The novel purports to be a novelization of a trilogy of horror movies, so I think this one, it analyzes a bunch of different films and formats, and it's told in a screenplay-like format, which is really interesting. Stephen Graham Jones is a huge slasher fan, which I think is evidenced with his book, My Heart is a Chainsaw. You can tell he loves the genre, so I think this must be filled with just that rich cinema history and knowledge, and I really want to read this one. I don't know how I'm going to get my hands on it. Then we have The Remaking by Clay McLeod Chapman. This, I think, has like a found footage style vibe to it, and it's about a horror film that was made that is cursed, and I believe that years later they tried to remake the movie, and I think that things go horribly wrong. I love this concept, and it sounds very much like Blair Witch to me. It's centered around the woods. I love that it's revolving around a 70s horror movie and a witch, so it definitely has those Blair Witch vibes. It it's also giving me, from the sounds of it, is Ty West's X, which is a new horror movie that's about a film crew in the 70s where things go horribly wrong. I just love that concept, so I need to finally get to this one. And the next one is called Memento Mori, The Fathomless Shadows from Brian Hauser. This is Brian Hauser's debut novel. It's an investigation into a fictional filmmaker who vanished under mysterious circumstances. So it's told through a variety of mixed media, like found documents, including a fanzine created by a teenage girl, film reviews, and script fragments, and he pieces together the shadowy world that is revolving around this person. This is definitely another night film sounding book. Then we have Lost Films, which is edited by Max Booth III and Laurie Michelle. This is an anthology collection about cursed films and film-related stories, the exact concept of this video. There's a variety of stories from different writers that focus from Film Festival of Horrors, occult-influenced horror movies, and it's described as very hypnotic, strange, and compelling. This is right up my alley. Next is Neon Phantoms, A Tale of Obsession from Sean McCloy. So this is about a guy who is the manager of a video store, and he's watched too many movies when he discovers a VHS copy of a forgotten horror film from the 1970s called The Jack-O-Lantern Man. He feels compelled to watch the movie repeatedly in the days that follow. He also researches the short-lived career of the Italian director of the film. As Hal learns more about the movie, he experiences a vivid reoccurring dream, and in the dream he's transported to an empty cinema auditorium where unidentified screams can be heard coming from somewhere beyond the exit sign. Hal struggles to escape the influence of the Jack-O-Lantern Man, but when he senses the spectral presence of a character from the film entering his own reality, he fears his mind may be unraveling. A lot of these seem to focus on a film director and them kind of disappearing, going off the map, and having some dark, sinister stuff within their films. And it sounds exactly like that. And the last one I'm going to mention today is Video Palace in Search of the Eyeless Man. It's inspired by events from the Shudder original podcast. And the podcast centers around the origins of a series of esoteric white videotapes. So one of the hosts of the podcast went missing in pursuit of the tapes, but not before hearing whispers of an ominous figure called the Eyeless Man. Fascinated by the podcast and Cambria's disappearance, Maynard Willis, PhD, a professor of folklore, embarks on his own investigation into the origin of the tapes and the Eyeless Man, who he believes has lurked in the dark corners of media culture and urban legends for at least 75 years. And as a part of the study, the doctor invites a series of writers to share their own Eyeless Man stories. So that's all of the books I have on my list right now. So please let me know if you have any additional recommendations for books that are centered around cursed films, books that are in the same style as Blair Witch, as The Ring, as Night Film, because I really want to read them. I'm looking for that found footage vibe. So if you have any recommendations, please leave them down below. I'll leave all my social links down below so we can connect on there as well. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button if you want to see more videos about horror books and movies, and I will catch you next time, guys. Bye.